Hello and welcome to this short video which introduces you to Microsoft SharePoint. I am Conan MacDonald of PWM Training. During this introduction, we'll examine some of the reasons why we use SharePoint and how it enables thousands of businesses worldwide to implement file sharing and collaborative working. In many organizations, sharing information and being able to work collaboratively, no matter what your location or the device that you're using, is of increasing importance. Typically, people need somewhere to upload, store and share files while they're on the move or working from home, as well as in the office, so they get by with something like Google Drive or Dropbox, and they tend to share information using email. Things can go wrong when those needs become more sophisticated and must become more closely aligned with the business. With email, it's quite difficult to distinguish between types of information being shared, such as when someone assigns a task, starts a group discussion, or wants to know if a problem has been dealt with. You need to be super organized to keep on top of your mail. Using online storage can cause problems when your business needs to have basic security applied, such as who's allowed to read files as opposed to edit those files, and you can easily have problems with organizing files in layer upon layer of folders, reorganizing those files when necessary, and dealing with things like version control. You need a better solution, and that's where SharePoint comes in. SharePoint is not one solution, it's several solutions wrapped up in one platform, and it's versatile enough to deal with all of the issues I've mentioned and many more. SharePoint is a Microsoft product, and it enables you to build interactive websites where you can collaborate within your business, share information internally and externally, and use social networking features to keep track of what's going on and to communicate with your team. It's been around since 2001 and is developed into Microsoft's fastest selling business software, outselling even Microsoft Office. 1 in 2 businesses worldwide use SharePoint, which is testament in itself to how versatile SharePoint is. Now let's look at some of the ways in which SharePoint can help improve collaboration and communication within your business. So as I mentioned, SharePoint lets you create interactive websites. So in order for your team to work with SharePoint, all they really need is a web browser. This is an example of a SharePoint website, or simply site as they're known. And just like any website, it has introductory text and important information. But you can also display things like key business metrics and integrated social network feeds if necessary. Although this is pretty much a standard out-of-the-box SharePoint site here, with the standard look and feel, you can customize this significantly, so many organizations use SharePoint as the basis of their intranet and also their public-facing websites. SharePoint uses features called lists to share standard business information, such as announcements lists, discussions, shared calendars and shared tasks, which is great for keeping track of what's going on throughout your business, large or small, or within a smaller team. Let's have a closer look at one of these lists. We're using this list to keep track of the status of various different training videos. And just like Microsoft Office, lists use a multi-function toolbar at the top of the screen known as the ribbon. And this makes it easy and intuitive for your team to add, edit and delete information. Several people can work on these lists at the same time, and all you need is an internet connection, although you can link these lists to applications like Excel and Outlook and even Project for additional features and to make managing the information more straightforward if you prefer. You can also use the Quick Edit feature to make editing your tasks really straightforward. As well as these out-of-the-box business tools, you can also create your own custom lists to store more tailored information, and you can also customize existing standard lists to make them more relevant to you and your team. Here we're using a custom list to keep track of projects we're working on, and we can use things like alerts and workflows to ensure that we have up-to-date information about changes and to make sure tasks get done. I'm just going to set an alert on this list, and I can use this to send me an email whenever existing items, for example, are modified. And I'd like to get a notification every day at 4 o'clock to give me a summary of what's happened so far. In SharePoint, files are stored in collaborative spaces known as libraries, and they perform the same functions as network drives, except that you get several additional document management features as standard, which you can enable when required. Things like automatic version control, and the ability to set up alerts which warn you of changes to files, content approval to stop files being uploaded without authorization, and also the ability for you and your team to create custom views of the information in a library, and that gives you several ways of organizing and viewing the same information in a way that suits you. SharePoint promotes the use of custom properties for files, known as metadata, and this makes organizing and reorganizing your files so much more versatile than simply using folder structures. So as an example, I'm going to create a document library. And in this version of SharePoint 2013, lists and libraries are known collectively as apps. So I'll add an app, select to create a document library. I'll call it Project Documents, and then Create. And these can be used to store any kind of file, not just Word documents. So I'll select to open my Project Documents library, and I'll use the Files tab to upload a document. I'll select my file, click Open, and then OK. A great feature of these document libraries is the ability to create a new blank document, which we can then add content to and save back to the library. It means we don't have to go off and browse for a file. I'll give the document a name. I'll just call it test document, and OK. And notice that this file is opening in a web app, which means I don't have to have Office installed on my local computer. I'm using a web-based version of the application. All I need is an up-to-date browser. I'll just use some code to generate random text. If I do have Office installed, I do still get the ability to open and edit in Word, but I have most of the options I'll ever need in the web app. So I'll go back to my demo site, and you may have noticed that I didn't need to click Save. Using a web app in this way saves the document automatically. I'm going to upload several files this time, using Upload Document and using Windows Explorer. And this lets me upload lots of files in bulk. And I'm just going to drag and drop some files from my computer straight into the library. And with that completed, we'll close down the Explorer windows. Rather than use folders, in SharePoint we tend to use custom columns, and those columns can be used to capture different properties of each file. These properties would correspond to, for example, folder names that we would have used before. So I'll click Create Column. I'll call the name File Category. We'll give people a choice of categories, and we'll provide those choices in a list. And OK to finish. These categories can now be populated using the Quick Edit feature. I'll switch back to Standard View. We can temporarily sort and filter using the drop-down menu for the file category. But what's really useful, and I'll clear the filter here, is the ability to create what are called views. So with a couple of clicks, you can reorganize how these files are displayed. I'll give you some very quick examples. I'll create a view based on the Standard View template. I'll call it Grouped by Category. Notice that we've got many different settings for views, sorting and filtering options and so on, but I'll go straight to Group By, and we'll group by our custom column, File Category. And OK. It gives me a nice, easy way of browsing those files. I'll create one more view in a similar fashion, but this time grouped by file type. So based on the Standard View, give it an appropriate name, use the Group By feature, and group by type. And that lets me very quickly change how the information is displayed. So all documents, grouped by category, grouped by file type. This is the kind of versatility that you don't get with network drives and folders, and it means that people can actually create views that suit how they work. Another feature that's often used in libraries is versioning, which I'll switch on now. I'll use the Library tab in my ribbon, the Library Settings button, and I'll switch on versioning settings. So versions are automatically numbered 1, 2, 3 and 4. and so on. So back to my library. I'll modify the view to display the version number. So I'll scroll down and make sure that the version column is displayed. I'll save my changes. I'll go off and make some changes to some of these documents, and then we'll see the version history displayed later. I've made changes to this project requirements document twice. If we look at the file menu, we can see who made changes. We can see a brief preview, who the file shared with, its URL. And we've got a further menu where we can look at the version history. So for example, if I want to see version 2, I simply click on the link. And I can open the file. I do get other options. I can view the properties of a version. I can delete an old version that I no longer want to keep. Or if some versions have been made in error, I can restore a version and make that the current version again. So I can restore version 1. And a copy of version 1 is made, that becomes version 4. And that's our latest version. But we can still retain the previous version history. Another commonly used option in document libraries is content approval. This feature has already been enabled for the sales pack library. And you can see that the sales pack for Lloyds has been approved, whereas the sales pack for RBS has been rejected. The rejected file won't show in this library for standard users of the library. I can see it because I'm an administrator. And we used a workflow to ensure that the rejection or approval process followed a structured path. So to recap, SharePoint gives you many more sophisticated and comprehensive ways of collaborating within your business and sharing information and files among your staff. We've seen how lists help you share information. We've seen how libraries give you different ways of organizing your files and give you some great document management features like version control and content approval. There are a great many other features which we'd really like to show you. Things like bringing in RSS and Twitter feeds and other new social networking features. However, they probably deserve a video all of their own. We'll be adding lots more videos in future, so please keep a close eye on our website or follow us on our Twitter feed. So thanks for watching, and goodbye.